Hi, thank you for joining me again for this coiled frame project. It's really something very simple but I always think simple is just as effective as complicated. And if you have a coiling gizmo, you can create these coils on the gizmo. Otherwise, you'd have to wind them round a very thin mandrel. But you can see I've made from 0.5 mil, or you can do it 0.4 mil, or 0.6. You make these little springs or coils on the gizmo. So I'm going to show you how to make them into frames for earrings. And so I'm going to make a pair of earrings, so I'm cutting two the same size that are longer than the coils, the coloured coils, red coils that I've made. And I'm going to start by shaping them, making that rounded end. If you've got anything cylindrical, I'm using my ring triblet, but if you've got, I don't know, a glue stick or a lipstick or something that you can create that rounded shape, just bend, this is 0.8 mil wire, which is going to be the center of the frame. So I just feed the coil onto that framework and place it centrally, and then I want to allow just enough wire projecting on each side to create links with my round nose pliers. So I just leave enough on that side, get my round nose pliers and make my first link. And that link, as you can see, is sitting at right angles to the frame. So again, push the frame around, or the coil around rather, and cut enough, just enough, leaving that excess for that link, and curl that around so you've got a link at both sides and it can't spring off. So now you've got this sort of horseshoe shaped coil, and it might have distorted a bit, so put it back around your cylindrical mandrel and just bend those links out so that when they come together they sit perpendicular, or they sit at right angles to each other, they sit next to each other at the right angle. So spend a bit of time making that shape just right. So you can see if you had a longer coil it would be a bigger circle and so forth. I make these frames without putting the coils on, and I just hammer the frames, and that's the simplest way of making a bead frame for a pair of earrings. But I just wanted to just add this little extra bit of putting a coil around, because it gives you the option of having colour, a sort of colour splash in your pieces. So find a bead that will sit on the inside and can be suspended. So I found this little silver bead, and I first of all got to make a head pin, and a head pin is just really a hook. So I use my tips of my round nose pliers, you can use your chain nose pliers, doesn't matter which, and then I want to squeeze or squish that hook so that it's completely doubled up. It will take a couple of goes because the wire wants to spin round, and then if it's too long, just snip off any excess to make it really neat, because you really don't want to see that. That's just a bit of doubled wire at the end that won't be scratchy. My studio today is so cold and my hands are really cold making this. It's a very frosty day in the UK today, so excuse me if I'm a bit slow. My hands just don't seem to be working very fast today. So I'm endeavouring to do this in the cold. So now just make sure you leave enough stem to go through the middle of your frame, and then make a link with your round nose pliers again on the opposite end. You want to leave a tiny little gap between the bead and the link so that it can sit and swing at the center of your frame. So don't go too close with that top link. And then that can sit within, you can see then it has a chance to swing if it has a little gap. So now we just need a jump ring to link everything together. You don't want to make the jump ring too small, otherwise it doesn't have the capacity to move. So go down your round nose pliers and make a little coil, cut through the coil, and then you've seen my video, I'm sure, on techniques, which is how to create jump rings. So you're just going to cut through the coil. Usually the first jump ring is a throwaway one, it's never as good, so you can go straight to the next one. That will be a better circle. So open up your link sideways, and then you're going to thread through all 3 top links so that that central bead is suspended together. Now, as I said, my fingers are very cold. I'm trying to do this and not looking like a complete idiot. It's only because my fingers are cold. But thread them through the 3 links at the top, then close that up, wiggle it a bit to work hard on that jump ring, and there you have that framework for the bead. And it just injects the colour by having that coil, and also makes it a bit thicker. And you just do the second one exactly in the same way to create a pair of earrings. Now, if you want to make a matching pendant that is a little bit more sort of a lozenge shape or elongated or more of an oval, just make a longer coil. Obviously you want it bigger because it's a necklace. And this time we're going to again cut the same thing. So it's very similar to make any shape you want. And as you can see, I'm doing the same thing, except I'm not making it a circular. So on one side a link, snip off the excess on the other side. The reason I leave these sides a bit longer and then snip them off as I'm making it is because the spring or that coil that I've made, if I make my shape too small, it's very difficult to hold on to. By making it longer and then snipping it down as I need it, it's a lot easier. So now I'm just making sure that the shaping is a bit better. Then I'm just going to again make sure the angle of my top links is going to sit better together, sit straight at the top. So I just squeeze them together and make sure that they sit adjacent and next to each other. And you can sort of cross them over just past where they should meet, and that brings them closer together. So there's my frame. Now I just want to put something a little bit longer at the inside to suspend within the frame. And I just cut a length of wire that will allow me to have enough for the head pin and the link. And because this is 0.8 that I've been using for the inside of the frame and for threading my beads, it's soft, so I'm just strengthening it and hardening it, and you see I'm just twisting it and straightening it. So let's make a head pin, a little hook, and that little hook is going to be squidged and squashed together so it's doubled up. So you're just squeezing and squeezing it until it meets. And once you've got that done, keep your fingers really close because it does want to move around, and it does make it a little bit difficult when you're not working really close to the wire. So I've got my head pin ready. I mean, obviously you could use a ready-made head pin. And then I thread my chosen beads. So I'm going to match all this up to my earrings. So I'm using these sort of old world antique looking beads, sort of Tibetan silver, which I love because I'm a bit of an old hippie really. And just make sure that that is going to sit within the frame. It's not too long. And again, you're going to be creating your top links. Now I've got a little bit too much wire, so I'm going to trim it off at this point, because I know I don't want that link to be huge. Make the top link, try and make it so that it sits central to that the beads on the head pin. And now we're just left with making the jump rings again. So you bring the wire around your round nose pliers and you keep coiling it underneath itself. So round and round, but always going underneath so that it curls on the same spot. And then find the last cut end, cut through to the next one, and there's your jump ring ready to go. Open it up sideways and link it through those 3 top suspension links. They all go in together, and that should help suspend the bead at the center of your coiled frame. And there you go. It's as simple as that. And you could make key rings this way, earrings, pendants. These could hang off necklaces. You name it. It's, you know, the bead's your oyster, or whatever they say in that proverbial saying, the world's your oyster. But and I'm going to put a couple of jump rings onto the top just to make it a bit more substantial, and that's where you can slide a chain, a suede cord, a ribbon, whatever you want to make your, you know, creation look as finished and beautiful as you want it to be. So it's very simple. It's a nice sort of starter project. And as I say, if you don't have the coiling gizmo and you haven't got the coloured wires, you can make these frames just plain wire and hammer them. They don't have to be coloured. Here's another option. If you haven't made your coil long enough, you can add beads, sort of seed beads, small beads to the tops, just to add something different. And you can make all sorts of shapes. You see there I've made a spiral and fed that coil onto the spiral shape. And if the coil sort of has gaps in it, look what you can do. You can just squeeze all around with the tips of your chain nose pliers. So I'm just going around in little segments like this. And this gives it another sort of look, a sort of jaggedy look, which I quite like. Obviously, you know, it's your option, but I just felt it's something that I discovered when I made a mistake, which is usually the way I work. I discover something new when I go wrong, and I'm sure you all understand that process. And you see, it just gives you another option to change the look of the coil. So have fun and enjoy making coils, making frames, and making your own jewellery. Thank you for watching.